Hello, my name is Rob Meager. I'm co-founder of the Center for Human Awakening, along with Richard Harvey. Richard isn't available for our vlog today, and Richard asked me to step in and share a reading with you. And as Richard sometimes does, I'll share a reading from his book, Your Essential Self. And this comes from near the very beginning of Your Essential Self. The passage is entitled, How We Come to Self-Exploration and Inner Work. In times of trauma, depression, anxiety, sorrow, confusion, and despair, our personalities are not enough. We are challenged to go beyond our normal limitations. We are forced to look inward, to journey to a deeper reality. Those of us who do not experience trauma or crisis, but nonetheless want to grow, may also choose to journey inward. It is a more circuitous route. Crisis is given. It cannot be chosen. This is how we discover who we truly are. For those who have gone deep enough, the truth proves to be so far removed from the personality that the swells and troughs of life in the so-called real world take on the appearance of play, lightness, and detachment. For most of us, however, our physical health, relationships, finances, fears, and desires are all there is and all we have time for. Our daily lives are spent in an obsession with ourselves, either directly or indirectly through our projections and concerns for others. The loop tape of our life compels and distracts and shows us how we live through the cycles of repetitive dynamics of action and reaction. Our frustration is as certain as our satisfaction, our happiness as predictable as our misery. One invariably follows the other. When we are honest with ourselves, we see that we are not as free as we think we are. Even when we entrust our freedom to Eastern teachings and practices and the distant likelihood of enlightenment, our culture may pose a terminal caution to our aspirations to freedom. The Sufi leader Pir Vilayat Khan said that of all the great spiritual teachers he had met in the East, if you brought them to the West and gave them a family, a mortgage, insurance, taxes, a job, children, and a spouse, they would all have a hard time. Though his remark is simply a caution, it could be construed as supporting a limited assumption made by many. The idea that enlightenment lives in the East, while neuroses lives in the West. What if we say instead that if you were to bring a Western teacher to Asia and ask them to adapt to an Eastern culture, they too would have a hard time? The point is that enlightenment and the spiritual are not confined to form, as much as we tend to dress them in certain clothes to give the appearance of holiness and serenity. Who says that we cannot be neurotic and spiritual at the same time? One is a symptom of our humanness, the other of our divinity. This is one of the overriding themes in this book, finding the way in a modern Western milieu to wisdom and illumination. But we'll get to that later. For now, we start with change, personal change. Everyone who looks within wants, consciously or unconsciously, to change. Change may be brought about by effort, through an act of will, but that kind of change is relatively superficial because it reverts when the will weakens. A deeper transformation comes about when we tap into the change that flows through all of existence and learn to surrender to it through the deep acceptance of how things are. How things are is tricky to experience. We habitually bring our prejudices and assumptions to bear on direct experience and cease to be aware. The goal of self-discovery is to become aware of who we are and to truly experience the world as it is. We get there through exploring our inner world. But first there must be a break, a tear, a crack in the fabric of our complacency. It is something negative, some event or feeling that upsets our contentment, but it is also a call to reality and to our deepest self.